Welcome to SmithWeekly Discussions, an occasional program for our readers and listeners of SmithWeekly Research. Please note this program is a private discussion and everything contained herein is for entertainment and educational purposes only. With that, we hope you're in a comfortable position, along with your favorite beverage, to enjoy the discussion. We remind our audience to examine the show notes attached to each of our shows to better understand how our program functions. Before we get into our discussion, we want to say thanks for questions coming from our audience at SmithWeekly, including Alan B., Mark G., and Gordon S. Returning to the show today is Jon Bey, President, CEO, and Chairman of Standard Uranium, an exploration stage company focused on uranium at their projects in Athabasca Basin. The company is listed on the Toronto Venture Exchange under the symbol STND. Jon, thank you for coming on.
Thank you very much for hosting me here. It's great to be on.
Well, Jon, thoughts on the market, COVID, or anything else here?
Good timely question. Well, you can see it's been a very busy week. Cameco made an announcement they're putting their Cigar Lake back online in September should COVID numbers stay where they are. And today we know Athabasca made an announcement, and we'll see how that impacts the market as well. They're saying they are buying in the spot as well. So it seems to be the first time that I can recall both Cameco and Athabasca are buying in the spot market. And still the spot market is staying flat. So let's see how the market opens up this week and if we see some numbers change. COVID, I'll touch on COVID a bit. Being in Canada, and our offices are in Vancouver, but our projects are in Saskatchewan. I'm actually in Saskatchewan today as I'm heading up to the project tomorrow. And COVID numbers in Canada are doing very well. Saskatchewan specifically, the numbers are way down, and the government and First Nations groups are giving everyone the green light to move forward. Hence, Cameco's position on moving forward this week as well.
Yeah, certainly kudos to Canada and Australia. They've made COVID look easy, and of course, a lot of egg on the face there in the U.S. Well, let's move on here. Let's talk Standard Uranium. Certainly interesting market conditions, as you highlighted a few key areas of what's going on. But recent news at Standard Uranium, you guys have staked some more exploration grounds north Athabasca, and also you've got a drill program starting very soon at Davidson River. Comments?
Sure, thank you. Yeah, I would have to say, our flagship is the Davidson River project, and I'll talk more about that as we get going. But our geologist, Neil McCallum, has also been staking additional claims in the northeast side of the basin and the full north side of the basin, adjacent to the current claims we have there. Those projects are going to be something we're going to look at in the near future, but right now all focus and all spending is going to be on the Davidson River claims. And the drill program, as I slightly mentioned, we're heading up there tomorrow, and we'll have the drills turning in the next couple of days. And I'm happy to walk you through that program with further questions and tell you all about what we're planning to do there.
Well, let's focus in for just a moment on, and maybe you can expand a little bit on Davidson River, a couple questions, but the Warrior Zone, why has that attracted your focus?
Well, I'm glad you bring that up. So we spent the last 2 years doing geophysics, geotechnical work to sort of identify our drill programs. That started off with, VTEM work followed by ZTEM work. We really wanted to identify, are there conductors in our region where we should be drilling? And on those conductors, are we looking at areas where there may be breaks or offsets or wrenching or folds and cross-cutting structures? So the VTEM and the ZTEM really identified all that. And I will alert your readers, our VP of Exploration, Neil McCallum, just did a 1.5 hour in-depth technical analysis of our drill program, which you can find on YouTube if you look up Standard Uranium and the drill program. It really digs into the specifics, but that those geophysics we did really identified the Warrior Zone, as you mentioned. And if you were to look on our slide deck, we have a slide there that really targets and shows the Warrior Zone and why we're going after that region. It's the section we're going after is about 2 kilometers in strike length, and it has all the things that make it exciting for us to want to drill that region in the Warrior Zone.
And what are the next exploration steps there, Jon, as far as the focus of the program that's starting right now? And walk us into 2021, assuming that there is success with this current drill program.
Sure. So let's go back in time a few months here. So our plans for 2020 were we wanted to complete our public listing. We did that in May. Then we wanted to do a capital raise. We went to the market and we had an exceptional response. We raised $4.5 million. We were looking for $3 million, and $4.5 million was offered to us. So we put that down And the next phase was to begin the drill program. So we aim to get that going in Q3, and we're right on track now. We start drilling this week. And we're going to do a 5,000 meter drill program at the Davidson River project. Those 5,000 meters we anticipate will be between 15 to 17 holes. We're looking for uranium fertile corridors to confirm there's uranium mineralization on our project. We're going to do some fencing, some sort of 3-hole fencing, poking in different directions. And we're looking usually if we don't make a discovery, we want to get great clues as to what we're going to help us make our next drill program. And looking ahead to 2021, our goals are, to have some success with this drill program, come back to the market if the market's happy for us to continue drilling, and start a winter drill program in probably February of 2021.
Yeah, that sounds good, John. And let's talk just briefly, let's open back up to Davidson River claims in general. Can you just speak to the history of Davidson River? And can you also talk about the prior lawsuit involving those claims?
Sure. Let me go back in time here. So the region in the Athabasca Basin, it was really thought of that, most of the discoveries that you were going to find uranium was found either on the northeastern side or on the northern side. Nobody really thought there was uranium in the southwest corner. Come around up until 2012, the Saskatchewan government had sort of a region that was out of bounds for drilling for uranium. It was saved for oil reserves because the Athabasca oil sands are right beside that in the Alberta border. But then in that year of 2012, Garrett Ainsworth made a discovery of radioactive boulders right on the Saskatchewan side, just outside of the basin. And the Saskatchewan government said, you know what, we should open this up to uranium exploration. So they removed that ban and people started exploring. Garrett's company was Alpha Minerals at the time, and they made a discovery with the JV with fission uranium. They made the R discovery. Now at that time, the government also removed, they changed the rules from hand staking to actually online staking. So exploration companies could then sit on their laptop and do all their staking. So there was a huge land rush in that southwest corner. Our project, the Davidson River project, was staked by a prospector by the name of Jody DeRouge. He runs a company in Edmonton called DeRouge Geologic. Interesting, at the time, he was also a director of fission uranium, and he became the president of fission uranium. Now, he offered that Davidson River project to Fission. The CEO, Dev, there said, no, thank you. We've got our own discovery. We're going to focus on that. So as time went on, a couple of years later, Jody decided to retire from Fission and stepped away. And then Fission said, we want that project back. And they sued Jody for the Davidson River project. And it was actually tied up in courts for 3 years. Not a single piece of work could be done on it while it was in courts. And at that same time, Fission continued to expand their RRR. NextGen came along and made their Arrow discovery. Pierpoint made their Spitfire discovery. All that was happening while the Davidson River was out of bounds. It couldn't be touched. Fast forward, the lawsuit ends. Jody DeRouge wins it 100% in his favor. He offers it to NextGen, and the VP of exploration at that time was Garrett Ainsworth. Garrett wanted it, but the CEO said, no, thanks. We're going to focus on proving out our Arrow discovery. So the project came to us, and we locked it up, and we basically built our company around the Davidson River project. And that was at the end of 2017, and we spent the last 2 years doing the geophysical work, getting us ready for our inaugural drill program, which we're starting this week.
Excellent. I appreciate the background and history on that. Let's move on to capital structure, John. Let's talk where we are with cash now. You've got expenditures coming down the pipe with this program. What do you expect to be cash at the end of this program? So just talk to us about cash here, expenditures to complete, and how far you guys can survive beyond that.
Sure. So we currently have got just over $4 million in the bank. And we're starting our drill program, which we anticipate is going to run between $1.9 to $2.1 million. So we should have roughly just around $2 million at the completion of this drill program. That would be more than enough money to keep us going for another 12 months should we not go back to the market and raise money. We'd probably like to go back and do a larger drill program or something of the same size, another 2 million program. So with good success from this first program, we'll probably do another capital raise and look at adding a larger drill program in the spring and winter of 2021.
And talk about the current major shareholders at Standard now. And are there some warrants coming due likely in November and December, correct?
That is true. So when the company was started, there were some seed founders that came in and put money in, and they had shares at 5 cents and warrants at 5 cents. Those are due to come to, they can close those out in December of 2020 and then again April in 2021. So there'll be 5 million warrants coming available in December, another 5 million warrants available in April. On top of that, we have other, we've done 4 capital raises, the original one. Then we did one in 2018 where we raised $800,000. The share price at that raise was 15 cents and 25-cent warrants. And then we did our go public capital raise on those same terms, 15 cents and 25-cent warrants, and raised another $800,000. That was in early May of this year. And then we just completed our last capital raise where we raised 4.5 million, and that was done at 20 cents with that 30-cent warrants. So, our share price has been trading in the last few weeks between about 20, 25 to 35 cents. So all those warrants are in the money right now, or have been at some point. So we anticipate we could see a lot of warrants come into our bank account should we continue to drive this company forward and have good real results.
Talk to us just briefly about the seed founders, those warrants that are coming due in December and April. Who owns those, if you can share that? And then also with current share structure, where are we at as far as who are the major shareholders at this point?
Yeah, so of the original 3 shareholders that came in, only one still remains, and that is an individual by the name of Talal Yassin, and he runs a group out of Vancouver. He owns, I'm trying to think of the numbers here, he would have probably just under 10 million shares, roughly. Outside of that, we had a group come in the last capital raise called Eventus Capital. They came in for, between them and several of the groups they brought in, they probably have got, somewhere north of 15 million shares. And then we have some institutional funds that have come in. Station Cove came in our capital raise in 2018. They came in again with our go public and again with our recent raise. They don't like us talking about how much they own, but they are a nice shareholder to have along, as well as we have L2 Capital, Marcelo Lopez out of Sydney, Australia. They've come in the last 2 capital raises, as has Tribeca. Guy Keller out of Tribeca has just come in as well. So we've got those 3 uranium funds who are, pretty well known in the uranium space, and it's great to have those as our shareholders. And they are, very supportive, and it's great having the support of those guys and speaking to others around about having them with us.
Okay, yeah, very well. And, folks who want to figure out what those percentages are, you can certainly go to CDAR and find out more or less exactly what some of those funds own. So I encourage you to do some homework on that front. It is available. Well, let's move on here. So let's talk just a little bit more on cap structure and administrative stuff, Jon. Compensation levels, do you guys expect that will change from 2019 in 2020 and 2021, or do you guys more or less see that staying where it is based on the size of the company, the stage of the company, and of course, existing cash?
Well, we don't have a lot of people on the payroll, to tell you the truth. We've got a part-time CFO who, his salary is, $5,000 a month, which is fairly reasonable. Myself, I'm the CEO. I have a salary. It's gone up from the last 2 years, which was pretty much zero. I'm now making a contract for the next 12 months, which is 150,000 Canadian dollars. And then we have a consulting geologist who have very low amounts as well. And so it's a very small burn rate. If you look at us compared to almost any other company, you'll see our burn rate is exceptionally low.
Excellent. And Jon, how do you see, you guys have got a roster here of a couple institutionals. How do you guys see satisfying those institutionals going forward with this exploration program? How are you guys going to juggle their expectations versus what you guys are doing on the ground, and the fact that in some cases discovery can take some time?
Well, we're aligned beautifully right now. I talk to them on a regular basis. They like exactly what our game plan is going forward, and we continue to speak to them and just keep them updated as to what they're doing. They want us to continue to go after and drill the Davidson River, and that's our plan going forward, as well as acquire additional land through staking and looking at some potential M&A activity as well.
What are your thoughts on, just moving into the U.S. for a moment, the actual success of coming out of this U.S. uranium reserve? And if it happens, do you see that it would actually be used by U.S. utilities in this cycle? And if it was used, do you see that it would impact the thesis sector equities?
Yeah, it's a really tricky question to answer. There's so many what ifs involved there. I mean, I was really happy to see, Trump come out and make the statement that they were planning to, spend $10 million a year and buying as much as they can and keeping, made in America type stuff. But, the devil's in the details, and so many of those details haven't come out yet, and they're working towards that. I know Senator from Wyoming this week was continuing to push some very strong stuff that was getting, support on both sides, both the Democrats and the Conservatives. So hoping that does happen. Can it happen right away, quickly enough? I'm not sure. Hopefully, when you mention, this cycle, that could be, several years. So hopefully we will see something come out of that. And the other big thing is a Russian suspension agreement. How is that going to play out? Many things are playing out there. I do think, Canadian companies that have got assets that, we sell a lot of the uranium to the U.S. and those U.S. companies that are able to produce in this market and sell are going to do very well. So it is positive, that's for sure.
It'd be interesting to see what happens there. It is notable, but it's not substantially big to really change any of the, I guess, core components of the forward thesis for the uranium cycle.
Mm-hmm.
You mentioned M&A, John. What kind of M&A are you talking about? Is it only in Canada? Are you looking outside of Canada? What do you have?
We're looking globally right now, looking at other areas, but I would say we're primarily focused in Canada and the U.S., where we'd like to stay close to home. It's quite difficult to have, our geologists working here and in Africa, for example. So we've got sort of a mission to sort of stay closer to home and really work on focusing on Davidson and then look at projects that we can add to our portfolio in sort of North America. So that's where our main focus is.
As you know, you guys are amongst a lot of uranium stories in the Athabasca Basin. There's a lot up there that's Canadian listed.
Mm-hmm.
What would you say to the uninformed investor who is saturated with the Athabasca uranium story? And what's your thoughts there on how the investors should approach Athabasca Basin?
Well, number one, the Athabasca Basin has the highest grade uranium in the world, bar none. The numbers in the Athabasca Basin are staggering compared to the rest of the globe, which is why there's so many companies operating there. And there's still, you think of the numbers, when we had that last uranium bull run, there were 500 uranium companies globally. There's now probably between 50 and 60. So those numbers are going to start to pick up, and you're going to see, dozens, if not many more operate or show up in the Athabasca Basin. We're already starting to see a lot of Australian companies starting to come over and make deals and stake lands and try to do some JVs. So that's already started. So the Athabasca Basin has got, high grade percentage of uranium, and it's a fantastic place to be. Now there are, if you look on the TSX or the CSE or multiple other exchanges, you will see, 30 plus companies that are focused on the Athabasca Basin. And I'd say to the novice, not to any investor, there's a lot of information out there. And there's a lot of people on Twitter or social media or through CDAR or through other websites. Go on and figure out, what you're looking for. Are you looking for companies that are in production? So right now in Canada, it's just Cameco, soon to be back into production. We have a number of stages that are companies that are, development stage, and there are some great ones out there. People can find that out pretty quickly. And then you have the exploration side companies, and there's a number of those. So when I tell, the investors I'm speaking to, you want to look for a company that has home run potential. They've got ground that has potential to have, massive discoveries, and who's doing that. And there's a lot of people that have been drilling for many, many years and haven't found anything, and their share structures have gotten blown way out of whack. And there are a few companies that have got projects that are pretty exciting right now. And those are the ones that are typically getting good funding going forward right now. And I think we are one of those companies.
John, so we've seen some companies come into the space recently. First, it was, well, I guess to some degree, you had companies that were uranium focused, and then they switched over to battery metals or whatever they could get their hands on to try to survive out. And you could say positive and negative things with that type of a strategy. But recently, we've had, Standard's been out there for a while. You guys started that story a couple of years ago. We've seen other companies recently pop up, both in Australia and also in Canada, namely Baseload Energy is one that's come up recently. What's your thoughts on these companies that come into the space, and how should investors approach new companies that are coming into the space as a result of what's happened with uranium? Do you see that it needs to be a project by project, management team by management team basis consideration? Are you concerned about the potential attraction into uranium, even though right now gold, copper, and silver are kind of stealing the story? What's your thoughts on new companies that are proclaiming to be uranium explorers coming into the space?
It's kind of a mixed thoughts on that. I mean, I do like to see, uranium just get to shine its light. I know gold and silver are really taking off right now, and uranium is really poised for a great second half of this year. So when any companies come in and sort of add uranium into the story, and people start talking about uranium, that's a good thing. Investors who are looking at those companies, they really need to dig into them individually. Look at who the management are, what have they done, look at the projects, look at the land they have. Is it moose patch, or is it something that's got a potential? Or are there other reasons why that project has huge potential? Look at who are the other shareholders that hold that company. That usually is a pretty telling sign. If there's smart money and smart investors getting behind a company, that's a great time to take a look at them.
How about the Otc listing status, John? Can you give us an update on that for maybe some U.S. retail that's looking to get in via Otc?
Yes, it's a slow process, and we have begun it, and we're working through it. So I'm guessing that is something we're going to be seeing probably towards the end of Q3, early Q4. I wish it was faster, but COVID had many impacts on us, and that was one of the things that was slowed down due to COVID. So the process has begun. We're going through all the paperwork now, and we're working closely with the OTC, and the guy we deal with is Chris King out of New York, and we're really looking forward to having that listing and to be able to make it easier for our U.S. Investors to trade in and invest with us.
John, so you've got a market cap near 20 million Canadian as things stand now. Why should investors consider a stake in Standard Uranium at current price levels? What would you say to potential investors who are listening?
Yeah, so good question. I have been asked that in the last few weeks. You were $6 million market cap a few months ago. Now you're 20 million. Did I miss my chance to get in and make money? And the answer is no. We are just getting started. I mean, this is a fantastic time to invest with us because our drills are just starting to turn this week. A lot of the investors who've come in have been waiting for this moment, and now, the next several months are going to be really exciting for our company. With some good drill results, the share price could really accelerate beyond where we are today, and the market cap could be, it's a great time to invest.
How do you deal with juggling the timing of what could potentially be trying to deliver results to shareholders and institutions who have shares now versus trying to also get timing reasonably correct? Of course, in uranium, if you can do that by plus or minus 1 year, I think you're doing pretty well. How do you guys approach that when you guys are looking at how you go about your exploration program and being careful not to potentially come up with a discovery maybe when sentiment isn't the best, or maybe the broad market isn't the best, or just capital in general isn't the best, like what we saw briefly in the month of March? How do you guys approach that to avoid discovery, which, as you know, in a bad market environment can cap that upside? And we've seen that during bear markets in the past with companies like Fission and NextGen, where you've had their upside capped as a result of discovery really in poor market conditions.
Yeah, so that's a very interesting question. So for us, did we time it right? Some say we did, some say we didn't. When we started the company at the end of 2017, and we sort of had a 24-month horizon when we thought the market was going to turn. So fast forward to the end of 2019, and it still hadn't really started to move. It was still, in the last 2 years, were very difficult in the uranium space. We worked extremely hard to, raise money in 2018 and 2019 and drive our exploration program forward to get us to where we are today, the public listing, the raising of the 4.5 million, and now our drill program. And for us, when you make a discovery, you're never going to time it perfectly, but you hope you do it in an upward bull market. You mentioned NextGen and Fission. Yes, they made discoveries in bear markets, but you still look at the appreciation of those share prices. I mean, NextGen went from less than 25 cents to almost $4 over that period. So that's a huge win for those investors. Now, if they would have done that in a screaming bull market, it could have been exponentially higher. But I think the shareholders were very happy with that. And same with Fission. They did quite a substantial uptick. They went from a very small company to a market cap that was in the hundreds of millions. So they did that in the bull market, in a bear market. So we are now at the point where I believe, a bull market in uranium is just getting started, and we got the drills turning. So our investors could see us make a discovery and make it in a bull market, which would be spectacular.
Excellent. Well, I appreciate your thoughts on that, John. And how can investors reach out to you and the company for more information?
So there's a few ways. I mean, I'm pretty active on Twitter, so they can go on a Standard Uranium Twitter account and they can, send us messages there, direct message me. They can also go onto our website and they can reach out. We have an info@standarduranium.ca. They can ask questions and we respond, within the day usually. And that's probably the best way to do it. We have an IR person who is handles stuff when I'm on the road or out of sight. Like I'm going to be at the project site for the next week and a half, 2 weeks, and there's not great cell reception or internet there. So if I don't get an immediate response over the next week and a half, it's because I'm at the site, and it's tough to respond from there.
Well, Jon, really appreciate you sharing more information and an update on Standard Uranium, and really looking forward to having you come back on as you guys continue to deliver results, and good luck over at Standard.
Thank you very much. It's really great to be on your show and be able to share our story. I also advise your listeners, look for us on social media. You can find videos we're putting out on a regular basis, our company updates. I'm going to be taking a lot of pictures and videos from our drill program and putting those out. And we like to give out, weekly or quarterly updates to our shareholders as well. So watch for us on YouTube, on Twitter, and follow Standard Uranium. Great time to invest with us.